On the morning of April 14th, 1865, Washington, D.C. awoke to relief and celebration. Just 5 days earlier, Confederate General Robert E. Lee had surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse, effectively ending the American Civil War. After 4 years of bloodshed, the nation finally breathed again. President Abraham Lincoln, worn down by war, yet hopeful for peace, spoke softly of reconciliation rather than revenge. He believed the Union could be healed. Lincoln began his day as he often did, meeting with advisors, discussing plans for Reconstruction, and thinking deeply about the future of a fractured nation. He told friends he felt a strange sense of calm, even happiness. That evening, he planned to attend a comedy at Ford's Theater, Our American Cousin. The outing was meant to be a moment of rest for a man who had carried the weight of the country on his shoulders. At the same time, across the city, John Wilkes Booth was making his own plans. Booth was a famous actor and a passionate supporter of the Confederate cause. Furious over the South's defeat and Lincoln's stance on abolition, Booth believed the president was destroying the Constitution. Earlier, Booth had plotted to kidnap Lincoln, but when that failed, his plan turned deadly. He decided that killing the president would throw the Union into chaos. That evening, Lincoln arrived at Ford's Theater with his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln. Joining them were Major Henry Rathbone and his fiancée, Clara Harris. As the president entered the theater box, the audience erupted in applause. Lincoln smiled and bowed slightly, unaware it would be the last public appearance of his life. The play began, and laughter filled the theater. Ford's Theater was dimly lit, the audience relaxed and fully absorbed. Booth, who knew the theater well due to his acting career, slipped inside around 10 o'clock p.m. He moved quietly toward the presidential box, holding a small Derringer pistol and a knife. At approximately 10:15 p.m., Booth entered the box behind Lincoln. As the play reached a moment of loud laughter, Booth raised his pistol and fired a single shot into the back of Lincoln's head. The president slumped forward instantly. Major Rathbone tried to stop Booth, but Booth stabbed him in the arm and leaped from the box onto the stage below. He landed awkwardly, breaking his leg, yet still managed to shout "Sic Semper Tyrannis," thus always to tyrants, before escaping through a rear exit. Panic erupted inside the theater. Mary Lincoln screamed for help as doctors rushed to the box. Lincoln was still alive but unconscious. He was carried across the street to a boarding house owned by William Peterson and laid on a small bed that was too short for his tall frame. Doctors examined the wound and quickly realized there was no hope. The bullet had lodged deep in his brain. All through the night, government officials, military officers, and grieving citizens gathered outside the Peterson house. Lincoln's breathing grew slower as the hours passed. At 7:22 a.m., on April 15, 1865, Abraham Lincoln died. Secretary of War Edwin Stanton spoke the words that echoed through history. Now he belongs to the ages. News of the assassination spread rapidly. Shock turned into mourning as Americans realized the man who had preserved the Union was gone. Black Americans, newly freed by the Emancipation Proclamation, mourned him as a father figure. Church bells tolled, flags were lowered, and the nation fell silent in grief. Meanwhile, Booth fled south but was tracked down 12 days later in a Virginia barn. When he refused to surrender, Union soldiers shot him. As he died, Booth reportedly whispered, "Useless. House useless." Lincoln's funeral procession traveled through multiple cities, allowing millions to say goodbye. His death changed the course of American history. Without Lincoln's steady hand, Reconstruction became harsher and more divided. Yet his words, especially from the Gettysburg Address and his second inaugural, lived on. The day Lincoln was assassinated marked not just the loss of a president, but the loss of a guiding moral force. In death, Abraham Lincoln became a symbol of unity, sacrifice, and the unfinished work of freedom, an enduring reminder that peace is fragile, and leadership can shape the destiny of a nation.